Rita Lorraine Carey, welcome to my show, Nature of Reality Radio. Once again, I don't remember where I heard about my guests that I have on my show. I just reach out to people and, I was at a conference. Was it a radio show interview that I saw on YouTube? I don't remember, but I remember a lot, but then I don't remember a lot. So definitely
You know
worthy
what you know what happens with that, Andrew? It keeps us in the moment where everything actually happens. So never ever criticize yourself for not having a great memory. I had to give that up a while ago. So if anyone's listening or watching and they're like, why is my memory so bad? It's all good, you know? It keeps us in the moment, which is where everything is created. So it's all good.
Yeah. Okay. Yes. So without further ado, why don't you tell your life story? Primary source perspective. It set the tone for this show, and then we'll get into the really nitty-gritty stuff, crystals and everything else that goes with it. So go right ahead. Knock yourself out. You got the floor.
I was like, what do I share? Because I watched one of your other interviews last night. I was like, and your most recent, which was really cool. And you were asking that gentleman the same thing, and I was like, oh, he's going to ask me that. You know, so if I had an elevator sort of speech, I guess I would say I was a corporate executive with supply chain logistics sales with UPS and FedEx for 23 years, and then I escaped. I started following my joy, and my joy took me all the way to South Africa to live. I got a 3-year visa to be there and came home early because my mom wasn't well and never went back, and spent a few years with her before she passed. And during that time, my eyes were sort of opened and things came into my path with energy medicine and an esoteric thing called the Akashic Records. And I remembered the joy of crystals while I was in South Africa. And I do believe that most of us, especially the folks that are here that came with some sort of purpose, you know, maybe they don't have a lot of karmic stuff they're working on. I think that it's all about remembering. And I was reminded of that in my journey of the energy healing stuff. So anyway, and so it's just been a beautiful exploration since I got back. I've met incredible people. I've done a lot of international traveling. I really feel like my YouTube channel is called Shine Your Inner Light, because I believe that as we look for the light in others and shine our own light, it's just this reverberation of really beautiful energy. And I don't know all the places that things I'll continue to do and explore, but I just feel really blessed to be here and to be stepping into things that feel joyful and creative. And I think that just is when we really listen to our heart and try to ignore the logical brain and follow heart impulses with all that we can. It just brings more joy and happiness, not only to ourselves, but everyone that we're connected to. So I don't know if that's exactly what you're looking for, but it just sort of all came to me just now. That's where so right now that's where I'm doing. I've channeled. I have a high channel, so I have guides that I've been able to identify that I can work with and that write through me. I did channel a short story with Mary and Jesus called Elijah's Alchemy, and we're getting ready to finish some of the illustrations to make that in a little printable version. It's kind of a short story, but it gets into sorts of different types of alchemy with crystals and intuition and processing grief and unconditional love and some things that have really resonated with me on my journey so far. And I appreciate the opportunity to talk to you. You're bringing a lot of beautiful energy to the planet, Andrew. You open the space for a lot of people, and that's such a gift.
Sorry, I was on mute. I thought I was talking to. Sorry. Okay, I don't know how that happened.
I can't see your lips on this, the way the screen is right now. So
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
that's okay.
Okay.
Not that it would help. I'm not a good lip reader.
Okay. Well. Okay. Now I'm not on mute, so I'm able to speak to you. Anyhow, the accessing the Akashic records. Are you able to basically access the records to answer any question under the sun that anybody throws at you, or is that not your forte when it comes to accessing the Akashic records? Are you more of a like there's specific Akashic records that you will access at a certain time for whenever need be, but you can't just answer any question anybody gives you? How does it work with you?
So I was guided to a woman named Dr. Linda Howe, who's the first person to get her doctorate in Akashic Studies from Emerson's Theological Institute. And I got certified to teach her work, as well as to do readings and to teach and do healing work in the Akashic records. She was channeled a prayer to access the records, which is really beautiful. So with permission from people, I will open their records, and it's really not about divination, meaning what's going to happen in the future, because the more we understand about the nature of our reality, getting back to your title of your show and stuff related to that, we create in the moment. And so for anyone to try to tell you what's going to happen to you or to whatever things that you want to create, I don't think that would be really appropriate. But so when I go into the records, it's more about trying to get clarity on things that we have going on in our lives. So whether it's job related or relationship or health related, those sorts of things. And the neat thing about the Akashic records is it's a vibrational history of everything, pretty much. So as long as it has public access, like you can go into the Akash of like a state, a city. If your pet gives you permission, you can go into the Akash of your pet. If there's a business for sale or it's your business, you can go into the Akash of that business. Or if it's a house for sale or your house, then you can open up the records and ask all sorts of questions. And it's usually like, I've never had anything negative. If you ever talk to somebody who does Akashic stuff and it comes out as negative, I would question the connection that they have, because the Akash is like this view, for me anyway, it's a beautiful vibrational history. And you connect in there with past loved ones, light beings, masters that have been embodiment and not, and they don't self-identify, but they just come through with like really loving, high vibe, great guidance. And it's a very energetic sort of space. So I have opened up the general Akash, because I was kind of questioning why we were all here at one point. And, and I was sort of told, we're connected to other planets and other groups like that. And when we experience contrast and expand consciousness, that the expansion of consciousness on this planet positively affects the other connections that we have. So you can sort of I can sort of do that as well. And then what I play with on the YouTube site mainly is going into the Akash of crystals. And then I was living in Sedona for a couple years. So I went into the records of Sedona, and I connected with the Arcturians up there. And so I did some channelings with the Arcturians, sort of a combo of, I'm clairaudient, and I don't know if that's why, but when I go into the Akash, I usually feels like I'm hearing, and can have a kind of a dialogue in there. So.
Okay, you said you can channel your pet with permission. Now the thing is, with permission, well, who says you need permission to access the Akashic records when we're all one? I mean, isn't it all there for you? Who says you need to ask? I mean, you say for courtesy you should ask for permission, but still, in practice, why would you need to ask for permission when it's all there? We're all one consciousness. It's all downloadable in one space and one time.
Well, I mean, there's different perspectives around that, right? Like there is the collective consciousness, yeah, and that we are all connected. But there's also a uniqueness to all of us. You know, we retain that, and I've been told I'm not going to fully understand that till I check out of this skin suit. You know, but yeah, it's so the beliefs that I have around the Akasha are that you do need permission from either the person or, you know, your pet, you know, yeah, so not so much. I guess I don't transfer that to crystals and things like that, but because those to me feel more public oriented, but that's just kind of how I was trained. And I'm sure that if somebody wanted to just go into somebody else's Akash, that you know, I don't know what's the way that I've been taught, and the way I sort of see it is that the Akash is protected by lords, and so it's asking the permission and stuff is going to allow you that more direct connection. You know, like in the Bible, like they talk about the Akashic records as the book of life, like everything your soul has ever experienced has been recorded. So it's sort of similar like that. So, but yeah, so it's how I was taught.
Well, thank you.
Huh?
Fair enough. By the way, just a little thing I probably should have warned you at the beginning of the show. I've had this little problem recently with my computer where it seems to self-restart a lot. To prevent overheating, to prevent that happening with this show, I tried to keep my computer in sleep mode until this interview started, but I don't really know if that's going to work out. I don't know why my computer seems to heat up so quickly, but hopefully we'll be able to get through this whole interview.
Okay, thanks.
Without that happening. Last couple of interviews, that wasn't the case. But anyhow, you mentioned access the Akashic of crystals. Well, this is kind of new to me. Because when I'm enough for crystals, I got crystals all over my house, and I don't know if I'll ever stop getting them. I've heard people say you can never have too many crystals, but I guess at some point it does become an unhealthy obsession, so you got to be careful about it. And
you're probably in the same camp with that.
Yes, so but accessing the Akashic records of the crystal, that's kind of new to me, because I mean, I'm always thinking of crystals having an energy that you can harness and utilize for benefit or for non-benefit, as the people of Atlantis found out, much to their demise. But as far as accessing the Akashic of a crystal, I'm a little lost on that. Well, what exactly is there what are you going to find if you try to access the Akashic of a specific crystal? I've seen one of your videos here 1 month ago, the Akashic records of this obsidian. And I'm like, okay, well, what do you find there? And if you were to do a video, the Akashic records of this green aventurine, or this citrine, or this amethyst, or whatever crystal in question that you got, what exactly are you going to find? I'm a little stumped on this. I've never heard of this before. Accessing the Akashic of a crystal. Please touch on how this works and what you find when you look at this stuff.
So, one of the things I like about the prayer that Linda Howe was channeled is that for me, it helps me kind of hone in on the energy of whatever I've opened up the Akash for. As an example, the first time I went to her class, I asked my higher guidance or intuition a question, and then I opened up the prayer for myself, and then I asked the same question, and I got kind of a more knowing, loving response. So I used the prayer to access the energy, like of that particular crystal. And for me, it tends to, like, I can feel a vibrational shift in my body when I read the prayer. So I want to try to answer your question as clearly as I can, but when I access the Akash, it just for like a crystal, and I use the name of that crystal, and I'll say, the one here in my hand. I want to try to really hone in on what I'm trying to make a connection with. I'll use that prayer, and I just feel like I'm making a very strong connection with the crystal, and then I just ask it things like, "What do you want to share?" A lot of times, what comes forward is a reminder of how powerful we are, and that crystals really are here reminding us of our essence and our power. And then there are certain things that'll come forward related to the energy that's, I think, part of reminding us of our power. Like I did cryolight yesterday, and it was kind of cool because it was saying it was related to soul's purpose work and things like that, like clearing out stuff for you to access more of why you came here or these higher connections that you have and things like that. So I try not to, I don't know, because you read a lot of things that are conflicting about the different energies of crystals and kind of quote like what they're for. And so that I don't try to spend a lot of time on those types of things, trying to memorize stuff like that or keep that in my head. Sometimes that stuff resonates and sometimes it doesn't. But the curiosity around all that led me down a path of creating a film that we're editing and getting ready to produce soon, because I was really curious about what crystals would do in our energy field and things like that. So it's just all kind of interesting. I don't know if that really totally answers your question, but it's just how I've been guided to explore. And I do feel like opening up the Akash of that particular crystal that I have or I'm holding allows a more clear connection for me and my channeling.
Thank you. And there's another video here I see you made about a month ago. What wisdom is there from the Akasha, this gorgeous shell? Okay, so accessing the Akashic records of shells. Now, shells are something that they have energies like crystals. I mean, the sacred geometry of a shell, the spiral shape, or whatever the shape may be of a shells are unique in that regard. And sometimes I find shells on the street, and I don't know how exactly they get there, but I decided to take them, to take them home with me.
Yeah.
And use them, just lay them around my house, just like I do with the crystals, because I'm sure they have energies. Well, exactly what is it about shells that gives them crystal-like energy that makes them useful to put around? And is it also like certain crystals have certain different benefits? Different types of shells have different benefits. Is that basically the case? Or when it comes to seashells, are they most, or not just, maybe not necessarily seashells, but shells in general? Not all shells comes from the sea, but do they all, is it all like this kind of shell will have this benefits, just like this crystal will have this benefits relative to this crystal and this seashell? You get what I'm trying to say here. How exactly does it work with shells?
Like when I'm in the Akash, I don't always remember everything. I was in Cancun, I think, when I did that little reading with the shell. And I remember, what I do remember about it was the spiraling energy, like you were talking about, like with sacred geometry. And there's just connection to, like, my knowing is that water holds information, water holds wisdom, and that the things that are connected to the sea help you make those connections for yourself.
Thank you. There's a video 2 months ago. That's not you in this video. This is some guy. Is this a London Real video? Looks like the London Real thing in the background there. Red wine allows us to access more of oneself. Okay, well,
Yeah.
all right. Now I'm interested in this. I've actually given up drinking alcohol. I drink kava kava, which is the
nice.
shamanic drink of the Pacific Islander people, which they say is something that poor people should be drinking. I find the effects of kava kava, they're like alcohol, but without the risk of causing socially inappropriate behavior. And that's one problem with alcohol, the risk of socially inappropriate behavior that it can do. So to hear people, I mean, on the other hand, you got research saying that especially for women, a glass of wine a day is really good for them. But then again, all the people that try to flat out avoid alcohol would probably have a problem with this video, saying, I don't care that what you say about it allows us to access more oneself. I made a resolution to avoid alcohol, so I'm just going to stay away from it. So, okay, well, maybe it's not the alcohol, maybe it's something else in the red wine that allows us to access more oneself. This video that you've got on your channel here.
Yeah, that's a video interview with Dr. Joe Dispenza, and he actually grew up. He's Italian, grew up and drinking wine as a little kid, right? And so it was just all common, just as his, I guess, everyday common life, right? And he was very curious what, for him and for maybe other people, because he experienced red wine as creating more like maybe not really inappropriate social behavior, but just a camaraderie with family and friends and things like that. So, but he felt like he was making higher connections. So he's got these guys, and if you listen to that share, they actually built a stomach, he and some other scientists, and with the peptides and digestive enzymes and different things. And in there, he shares about the changes like in neurotransmission. And he has done some retreats with people where they're in places where they're eating great food and drinking wine and stuff, and then he'll do these meditations. So he's, so these are his experiences, right? I think the main thing with a lot of these things is you do have to listen to whatever feels good for you. Like you drinking the kava kava. I mean, I used to make medicinal drinks with reishi and maca and shilajit and mucuna and all these different things in my smoothie in the morning that I would do for myself that I started doing a decade ago. So I get all that, but I also know there's a creative aspect of us, and that whatever we consume, if we think it's going to be amazing for us, that also we get what we create. Like you've heard of the double slit experiment, Andrew?
Yes.
So if like even just let's say for Joe Dispenza, if he thinks that when he drinks red wine that his neurotransmitters are going to open up and he's going to have a more gamma state mystical experience, then he will, right? And so I think that's the energies around around everything. And one of my guides is Jesus, and Jesus is very much in the space of not to be self-critical, and holds a space of unconditional love for all of us, anyway, and so we all can connect with him, but he'll joke with me like, I used to drink a lot of red wine, or a lot of wine. That's why it's in the Bible. So, but I think it's like knowing yourself, know thyself. And if thyself doesn't excel drinking alcohol or coffee or, Mountain Dew, then we should avoid it, right? And try to avoid it without judgment, I guess.
Yeah, thank you. Some of the other things I see you access Akashic records from, peacock feather, channeled messages, of all things. Well, feathers, They say if you see a feather fall in front of you and you're walking down the street, that's a sign an angel's with you. Well, it doesn't necessarily have to be an angel. It could be something else, like a loved one or something. But
Yeah.
peacock feathers. I was seeing the word peacock a lot, watching one of the NFL football playoff games on NBC, and saw the peacock word
That's
peacock a lot. Yes. So I didn't realize the NBC logo. They say, is it a peacock? Some people, some other spiritual people and occultists say that that's a sun symbol, but who knows? Anyway, the peacock feather, it's a rather beautiful feather. Not that other birds aren't beautiful, but peacocks, they certainly stand out with the way their feathers like fan like that, looking like the NBC logo. So what exactly is it so special about peacock feathers relative to other birds' feathers that made you want to access the Akashic records of them?
Well, I had a friend that said that her mom wouldn't allow them in the house because she thought they were evil. And I'm not sure when I got those feathers, but I got them a while ago. And so I was like, well, let's just open up the Akash and see really what they say. So that was kind of a fun share, and it felt really positive, because there are aspects of in ancient societies where they felt that the peacock was around, the energy was around abundance and beauty and things like that. So, and there's also the sense of the eye that you sort of see, and yeah, so it's just interesting in that way. Yeah.
Yes. All right, and another video, Akashic records of a fossil. I'm assuming that that's pretty much similar to Akashic records from a shell. I mean, like a shell kind of is a fossil. So also we'll think of fossils being like imprints in rocks more so than the actual part of the animal. But enlighten me on this, like an imprint of a shell, that's a fossil in a rock layer. Like that's what this looks like. It's not an actual shell, but an imprint of a shell.
Yeah, I can't remember. I don't remember all the channelings that I've done. So somebody would have to watch that and see what it was shared with us. So I find fossils kind of just I don't know. I resonate with a lot of like the ammonites and things like that. It just again gets back into that sacred geometry of how it's a reflection of us around this energy, and but I don't remember everything that was shared with that fossil.
Okay, switching gears for just a moment. Your website here, it seems that you advocate here on the About page. You advocate traveling. Travel leads to more happiness. I've heard other people say traveling is certainly one of the best ways to expand your consciousness. So I'm sure that, of course, intermingling in an environment is certainly much more better for your consciousness than just watching that environment on a Travel Channel program. What exactly makes it, as someone who's an expert on this, I guess, traveling leading to more happiness, could you please compare and contrast what it's like to intermingle in an environment in person and actually be there relative to watching that same environment on like a Travel Channel program and imagining that you're being there just by watching it on TV? It's not the same thing. If anyone can tell you, it's certainly not the same thing as being there. But what exactly is it that makes it different, being there relative to watching it on some sort of a program or a documentary?
I think for me, traveling is really about the people. So, and learning about another culture. And I think the more we're exposed to other cultures, we have less fear of the other. And depending on the circumstances that you find certain people, You may even have more of an appreciation for your own space and your own freedoms. And like for me, the first time I went to South Africa, I came home and, I walked into, my bathroom that had 2 sinks and the water ran hot, cold, and it was like, sort of perfect, right, in some ways. And I had just come from an environment where it was really hard to get hot water, and the water didn't run all the time. And so there was a greater appreciation for what I had as well. So, and then just really for me, it's connecting with people in other cultures and other countries and learning about them. And I think watching those things, if you can't get to a certain country, I think that if you find the right conduit to watch stuff, I think there's a lot. I think you can glean a lot of stuff and feel the texture, of a different community and things. But if you can actually travel and go there, it's just even more layered, the energy of meeting other people, the energy of a different environment, and then the level of, appreciation or the ideas and stuff that are spawned from spending time in another environment or immersion in another culture.
And on a related note, there below that you have another page here. Volunteering brings you closer to the divine, your essence. I can certainly go along with that. I volunteer just not to work with a group on this, but just when I'm at home and it's a nice day out. I like to go out in nature and pick up litter. Yeah, that's what I do on my walk home. Picking up litter on the street, volunteering to make this world look, well, my street anyway, look like a better place. And I do feel closer to the divine in my essence whenever I pick up litter off the street. So aside from the just feel good factor of knowing that you're doing something helpful, how does volunteering bring you closer to the divine in your essence? Please elaborate, expand on that.
Well, I think there's that of God in all of us, and or however you want to define that, source, divine, and that we are naturally here to uplift each other. And so when we step into spaces where we're helping each other, however that looks, and whether it's picking up trash that somehow escaped the garbage bin, or somebody actually dropped it there and didn't care for it to take care of the environment that way. When we do those things, it's that essence of who we are as an uplifter that chose to be here at this time. And it always feels to me in that way that it's just closer. It's closer to the divine.
Mm-hmm. Well, yes. Now I'd like to, well, I guess maybe this is the opposite of volunteering to bring you closer to the divine, your essence. But some people, I just don't understand some people. Like I was watching the movie 8 Mile, Eminem's movie debut. There was a scene I saw in that movie when Eminem and his buddies were driving down the street of LA and they decided to cause pointless vandalism by like out the window of a car and shooting things in the street and all, like, and I sometimes see a vision like teenagers driving down the street in a car and like bashing out mailboxes with baseball bats, and I'm like, how exactly do these people feel that they're getting to their closer to the divine in their essence by causing pointless vandalism? What exactly causes people to think like that? Because I was never like that growing up. I never really understood why people would feel the need to cause pointless vandalism in order to get a rush or a high and feel closer to their divine and their essence. What exactly is it about humans that causes well, is it really the human? Are they at that time when they do something like that, are they actually hijacked by some sort of an entity perhaps, or is it not always an entity? Maybe they are just human. They are crazy humans that for some reason they think that destroying things is going to
Do you think they had wine?
Do they what?
Do you think they had too much red wine?
I don't know, but could that be the case? Even sober people would be like that. They say, if I'm bored, I'm going to do crazy things. Why?
Yeah.
How does it work like that? Well, why are people like that? I
have no idea. One of the things I had to get to a long time ago in my life is that we all wake up doing the best we can. So at some point, like when they woke up in the morning, they were trying to do the best they can. And where does that type of behavior come from? I have no idea, so I would think it'd be a great deal of unhappy. I don't think they would be very happy. And, but that's a judgment on my part, right? So.
Right. All right. At this point, last 15 minutes or so of this interview, pay-per-view, please. Folks, please consider subscribing to this on Patreon. I'd be very, very grateful. You certainly do yourself a service, because a lot of the important things get us discussed throughout these interviews, including stuff in the pay-per-view parts only. Sorry I had to go pay-per-view. Don't remember exactly when I started doing that. I think it was maybe 2020.
When we go to the pay-per-view, can I show you an energy technique that people can use?
Yeah. Well, you can. I guess maybe can we save that till the very end of the program?
Yeah.
How long will it take it?
Just a few minutes.
Okay. Well, let's make that the last thing you do, and then after that, you can give out your contact info and all that. I'll put your contact info in the description, so in case the pay-per-view people don't listen to the pay-per-view part, they can still access your contact info. But still, I'll give a chance to do that, and the healing thing you want to do at the end. So now, okay. So rest of this interview, pay-per-view only, and next subject talk about now.